The most beautiful places in the world are as impressive in breadth as their views are magnificent. From stately glaciers to rugged mountaintops, rolling hills taken straight from the frames of a Studio Ghibli movie to salt flats that deliver the sky right at your feet. Impressive landscapes dot every corner of our planet. Please sit back and relax as we journey through some of the Earth's most beautiful places. First up, we visit Lake Bled, Slovenia. There's a reason Lake Bled is one of Slovenia's most popular sites. With its emerald waters, vistas of the surrounding Julian Alps, and Disney-like castle high on a hill, you won't be short of picture-perfect views. Next up, we venture to the Isle of Skye, Scotland. With fairy pools and endless undulations of hills, the magical Isle of Skye is the stuff dreams are made of. While the nature here is timeless, the island also has a food scene that's totally modern. We can't think of a more beautiful place to sample Michelin-starred cuisine. Next up, we venture to Lake Como, Italy. This 56-square-mile Lombardy jewel has been attracting summer vacationers since ancient Roman times. Today, it's as popular for its natural beauty as it is for its luxury hotels. And George Clooney sightings, of course. Next, we're headed to Lauterbrunnen, Switzerland. The alpine town of Lauterbrunnen is one of the most beautiful small towns in Europe, with its quaint chalet-style houses and village churches. But its natural surroundings are what really steal the show. Ooh and ah at towering rock faces, mountain peaks, flowery meadows, and some of the tallest free-flowing waterfalls in Europe. Fun fact. J.R.R. Tolkien used Lauterbrunnen as inspiration for the fictional valley of Rivendell in The Lord of the Rings. Next, we're off to Milford Sound, New Zealand. New Zealand is no stranger to breathtaking landscapes, particularly on the west coast of the South Island. Case in point, Milford Sound, a mountainous fjord where you can live out all of your Lord of the Rings fantasies. Now we're off to Lençóis Maranhenses National Park, Brazil. The geography of Brazil's Lençóis Maranhenses National Park is like nothing else on the planet. The rainy season, which hits around early June, fills every trough with water. The effect is not unlike an M.C. Escher print. The scene resembles either a drowned desert or a sandy lake, depending on how your mind's eye frames what it's seeing. Next stop is Mont Saint-Michel, France. Rising out of the bay like a life-sized sandcastle, Mont Saint-Michel has been attracting tourists and pilgrims for centuries. Thick walls make up its base, from which rises the iconic village. A climb atop the fortress here reaches the pinnacle of a rocky outcrop where an abbey and church loom over the sandbanks below. And when the dramatic high tides roll in, the Mont juts majestically out of the water. Next stop, Mount Fuji, Japan. It's hard to pick the single most beautiful place in Japan, but 12,388-foot Mount Fuji just might take the prize. Visit Lake Kawaguchiko in the spring for some of the best views of the mountain and cherry blossom trees, a postcard-worthy sight, if we ever saw one. Or if you're an avid hiker, plan a trip from mid-July until the end of August, when the snow melts enough to allow access to Fuji's summit. Next stop, Mount Kilimanjaro, Tanzania. Africa's highest peak seems more striking than a lot of other famous mountains, because it's an ancient stratovolcano that's not part of any mountain range. That means the 19,000-foot summit drops down to vast, flat plains on all sides, making it a mirage-like blip on Tanzania's widespread topography. As an added bonus, the peak requires no technical mountaineering skills to summit, so even novice hikers can cross this item off their bucket list. Our next destination is Namib Desert, Namibia. With its otherworldly landscapes and populations of rhinos, giraffes, and elephants, the Namib Desert is like nowhere else on Earth. In fact, its red sand dunes and skeletal trees might make you think you've been transported to Mars instead of Southwest Africa. Next stop, Napali Coast, Hawaii. Kauai has one of the world's most gorgeous coastlines, with towering waterfalls and isolated crescent beaches. Just be prepared to put in a little effort to soak up its wonders. Napali can only be seen from a helicopter, catamaran, or a rather grueling hike. Next destination, Okavango Delta, Botswana. The lush Okavango Delta, a 49 million-acre river delta in northern Botswana, is like a real-world Eden, where cheetahs, zebras, buffalo, and rhinos roam freely. Visit during Africa's winter, summertime in the northern hemisphere. After the rains, the savanna's grasses are low, while growth along the waterways attracts tons of wildlife. Our next stop, Palawan, Philippines. With its blue lagoons and limestone cliffs, it's easy to see why Palawan is consistently voted one of the best islands in the world. It is also home to the otherworldly Puerto Princesa subterranean river, a UNESCO World Heritage Site that travels 5 miles through an underground cave system. Our next destination brings us to the Pantanal. The Amazon may be Brazil's most recognizable natural beauty, but the lesser-known Pantanal wetlands offer a completely different, yet equally remarkable, wildlife experience for travelers. These tropical wetlands are the largest in the world and boasts the largest concentration of wildlife in South America. Plus, because the terrain is fairly flat, it's easier to spot the jaguars, giant anteaters, green anacondas, and howler monkeys that call it home. Next stop, Pamukkale, Turkey. The 17-tiered pools of Pamukkale, Cotton Castle in Turkish, are as beautiful as hot springs get. The stacks of white travertine, a form of limestone, overlook the city of Denizli, and the still 94-degree Fahrenheit waters perfectly reflect the cerulean Aegean sky. Our next stop is the Pitons, St. Lucia. The scenery of St. Lucia can be summed up in one jaw-dropping sight, a duo of striking spires known as the Pitons. The two volcanic peaks, Gros Piton and Petit Piton, are the most iconic landmarks on the island, and visitors can enjoy them in a variety of ways. A singular experience has to be actually hiking the mountains, an activity which takes the better part of a day, or, if you prefer to keep your feet at sea level, plop a towel down at Sugar Beach, set dramatically and conveniently between the two pitons. Our next stop takes us to Reynisfjara, Iceland. If the moon had a shoreline, it would probably look something like Reynisfjara. Just a 20-minute drive from Vik in southern Iceland, jet-black sand and spectacularly shaped basalt columns make this beach one of the most impressive sights in an already impressive country. Next stop, Salar de Uyuni, Bolivia. Southwest Bolivia's Salar de Uyuni is the largest salt flat in the world, and is about as surreal as landscapes come. When dry, the flat is a sheet of blindingly white salt tiles. During the wet season, the shallow lake mirrors the sky, creating a dreamy illusion of infinity. Our next stop brings us to the Smoky Mountains. While you could leave this national park satisfied on the foliage and views of the Cumberland Mountains alone, don't leave without witnessing the firefly show. Though the Great Smoky Mountains play host to 19 species of fireflies, the synchronous Photinus carolinus is the only breed in the U.S. to be able to blink their bioluminescence all at the same time, making for quite the summer night spectacle in the national park that straddles North Carolina and Tennessee. Our next stop brings us to Torres del Paine National Park, Chile. With its granite pillars, azure lakes, and steppes spotted with grazing guanacos, Torres del Paine is one of the most impressive sights in the entire southern hemisphere. It also happens to be an extremely popular destination for hikers. The ultra-ambitious can travel the full circuit, crossing the entire park in 9 days. Next, we're off to Ubud, Bali, Indonesia. As crowded as Ubud can get, the town is only minutes from dozens of quaint villages and peaceful countryside vistas. Rent a motorbike or bicycle at your hotel and get lost in the villages, tangerine groves, and rice paddies, all of which are kept alive by farmers who tend the terraces just as previous generations have done for millennia. Next, we stop by Valle de Cocora, Colombia. Valle de Cocora is one of the most beautiful landscapes in Colombia, and that's saying something. The park, about a 7-hour drive west of Bogotá, is filled with the tallest palm trees in the world at nearly 200 feet, which look even more incredible set against the backdrop of misty green hills and craggy mountains. Next, we're off to Wulingyuan Scenic Area, China. Scenic might be an understatement here. This 100-square-mile attraction in China's Hunan province contains thousands of sandstone pillars that are nature's version of skyscrapers. Some even stretch taller than the Empire State Building. Our next place to visit is Denali National Park, Alaska. Despite controversies over name changes and a shrinking elevation, Denali's beauty is worth braving the extreme low temperatures. Make a road trip out of your visit, seeing as much of the 6 million acres of shimmering lakes and jagged mountains as you can. Next, we're headed over to Étretat, France. Located along France's alabaster coast, the pebble beach of Étretat is popular among sailors and surfers. But most visitors come to this stretch in Upper Normandy for one reason: the famous chalk cliffs and arched rock formations. At various points along Étretat's 80-mile stretch, you'll find natural sculptures that have inspired travelers and artists, most notably Claude Monet for ages. Thanks for traveling with us to some of the world's most beautiful places. Our journey took us through stunning destinations that captivated the heart. From serene beaches to majestic mountains, each location offered unique experiences that enriched our understanding of global beauty. That's what makes these places special, and how they connect with travelers like us. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next adventure.